Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ossuary Dungeon Discs. My name is Colin Hubbard. In Ossuary Dungeon Discs, we cast someone to the Ossuary with 7 discs of their choosing, a luxury and a book. This is in no way connected to Desert Island Discs from the BBC. They have 8 discs and we only have 7. It's a completely different format, and for rights reasons, the songs are all parodies with no monetary gain. So, our guest today is Dan Thompson, one of the most skilled DMs in the business. He's been DMing for 20 years, and in that time he's killed his friends over and over and over again. Whilst doing this, he has written comic books, attended many Comic Cons, has produced comedy podcasts, and continued to make his way in the acting game. A notable history buff, an expert in Pathfinder, and as his friends describe him, a bloody nice bloke. Dan Thompson, thank you for being our guest today.
It is an honour. You cannot imagine how long I've been waiting to come on Ossuary
Dungeon Discs.
Ossuary Dungeon Discs.
Yeah, we've been going for a long time.
It's my favourite show. It's one of the longest running one of the shows. I tell you what, do you know what I'm really looking forward to?
What's that?
About season 3 of our show, about our new adventure. It is never having to write or say the word ossuary ever again.
Oh my god, ossuary is such a hard word to say.
It's a terrible word. I'm not sure it's even technically accurate. I think it's a crypt. I think ossuary is a very specific kind of dungeon, a kind of tomb that only has bones in it. But we're getting off the track. I'm sorry, I've derailed this already.
No, it's fine, Dan. It's all right. Like, you know. This is quite a similar format. I don't know if you've ever listened, Dangerlings, to Desert Island Discs. But as I explained in my intro there, it is slightly similar, but we are very, very different. So they have 8 discs, we only have 7. They go to an island, we're going to the ossuary. All right, so we're going to cast Dan out. He's going to be alone. So let me ask you the first question, Dan, and this is from our Dangerling, Rodri Griffiths.
Rodri Griffiths,
yeah,
cheers,
big up.
Rodri.
What made you want to make a Pathfinder podcast as opposed to D&D?
Okay. Well, this is something that comes up so much. You always get edition wars.
Yeah.
And there's always a lot of debate over what's better, Pathfinder or D&D. To give you a super short bit of history, if you didn't listen, I think in episode 1 we talked about it. Pathfinder grew out of Dungeons and Dragons. Year 2000, Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition comes out. It gets replaced by 3.5 edition, so it runs for a while with that, and then they do a 4th edition, which is very, very different. Paizo, who make Pathfinder, at the time they were writing adventures for Dungeons & Dragons, and there's a really big desire when 4th edition comes out to keep the 3.5 edition rules. So Paizo tidy those rules up because they're an open game license, and they start making Pathfinder, which is their new game, but it's essentially the same rules as old school D&D, and D&D is now on 5th edition, so it's a very different game, and we, contrary to what I think I've said a few times on the show, I actually quite like 5th edition. I'm sorry, Paizo. No, because we play it on Monday nights. Ross runs a 5th edition game that we play to like unwind when we're not.
Big up Ross
when we're not recording it. I've just started memorizing the names of some of the characters in it. I have no leg to stand on when I come down on you guys for forgetting the names of important characters in our campaign, because I never do in Ross. But 5th is a very different game. It's a much simpler game. It doesn't have rules for everything. It expects you to kind of just improvise around stuff that doesn't cover, which means it's a lot easier to pick up, but it doesn't have the sort of the depth, I think, that Pathfinder does. For me personally, I'm a Pathfinder guy. I've been playing this basic rule set for nearly 20 years now. I know a lot of these rules, and I like that I like how much depth that there is there to explore. I like that whatever kind of character or creature you want to have, there will be an entry somewhere in one of the many rule books that I have cluttered around my house that will explain how to do that. And I like that level of detail that you can go in there. And also, at the time we started recording, it was a year ago, there was a fair bit of content out for 5th edition, but not nearly as much as there was for Pathfinder.
Yeah, right.
And a big part of wanting to do the show was wanting to play all of these adventures that we'd had sitting around, written by Paizo, that we wanted to play through. And I was like, this is the best way to do that. We'd also been playing Pathfinder for, a good few years by that point. So we were all sort of, other than you, I think.
Other than myself, yeah.
You were new to it. But everyone else was kind of familiar with the system. So it was it was one to do. Also, there's not as many people doing Pathfinder as a podcast. There are loads of Dungeons and Dragons podcasts.
Okay.
There are so many 5e podcasts, and we felt it would be fun to do something a little bit different, to play with a system which not as many people do, but I think still creates really good stories. And ultimately, we're not the kind of show where the system matters massively. We are more about the story than we are about the rules, and that's something that sort of come up when we talked about Pathfinder 2nd edition that's coming up, and what we're going to do with that, whether we're going to play that on. And ultimately it keeps coming back to, well, it's not really about the rules, it's more about these characters and these stories we're telling with them. So I think whichever way we go with that, and I think if we had done 5th edition, I think it would have been quite a similar kind of show, because ultimately that's what we're getting into with this. But for me, it's just the way I've been raised. I'm a Pathfinder player, That's how. That's
born
how
and raised in Pathfinder. Yeah, that's a new T-shirt, isn't it? Born and raised in Pathfinder. Yeah, nice. Okay, following on from that question, because you did mention something about monsters and creatures. And Dweezil, is it? Dweezil said, "Is there a particular creature that you'd really like to put the group up against?" This might be a spoiler, but
Dweezil. Yeah, it's really hard, because a lot of the creatures I want to put them up against, I might actually put them up against at some point. So it's hard to know. But what I've done, I quickly went and wrote down like some of my favourite monsters that I've either used in the past or that I would love to use. And a lot of these are ones that we've either leveled past or will probably never get to. So I'm going to give you 3 monsters that I just love really quickly out of the bestiary. One of them, and they're all really hard to pronounce, so I don't know why I chose these. One is called the Alpachuria. Alpachuria?
An Alpachuria.
Alpachuria.
Okay.
It sounds
quite
quite
Al Pacino.
It's like Al Pacino, but he's a little gnome. He gets really angry.
Fuck you!
It's like it's a tiny. It's like challenge rating 1. It's really low level, but it's a tiny little tadpole. It's a parasite. And the idea is it attacks a player it hides in their food. When they eat it, it attaches somewhere in their throat, and it starts eating all your food. And basically, the character who is infected by it, unless they notice it, they start suffering from starvation effects. They basically, food doesn't do anything for them, and they starve to death until they work. And if you diagnose it, you can get it out quite easily. But it's just a really gross. And I think it's based on an actual thing. I think there is like a parasite that does it to fish or something.
Right.
But it's just gross, and I think it's great. The other one I love is a Vargoyle. It's, without spoiling too much, because we might talk about Godsmouth Heresy a little bit and stuff that's on there. But I want to try and avoid doing too many spoilers about stuff we didn't do in it, because if you want to play Godsmouth Heresy, trust me, we played about half of Godsmouth Heresy on this show. Like, there is so much more of that dungeon that you could explore. So, but there is a Vargoyle in there which we didn't encounter. A Vargoyle's like a flying vampire head. It's just like a little ball with a face and wings on its ears, and if it bites you and you fail a save, you gradually start turning into one. So you start just sort of one day you wake up and you've got fangs, and then your skin goes a bit funny, and the final stage of it is, if you don't cure it, your body suddenly drops off one day and you end up as a flapping head. But at no point in the description of it does it say that your character is then dead. So it implies that you can then just carry on playing the game, but you're just a little flappy head. Which,
no way.
Which I think is just brilliant. And I wish
just Fulton as a little flappy head.
Yeah, I just think it'd be hilarious. He's just, and there's no cure. Like, he never gets his body back. He's just a little flying head for the rest of the campaign.
That would be amazing.
I love anything on there. And then there's weird stuff in like some of the later bestiaries. You've got like all of the H.P. Lovecraft creatures are in there, and there's there like you can fight Cthulhu and you can fight Godzilla is listed in the thing. I had a very quiet
Godzilla.
You can fight Godzilla. You
have to fight Godzilla.
I think it's challenge rating 25. I did the maths on it, which I haven't got with me, but I did the maths on how many Fulton Battlestones it would take to fight Godzilla in a single fight, and I think I worked out that if there was, it would need 1,500 Fulton Battlestones. They would have to have some kind of a means of standing on each other's shoulders so that they could all surround it, because there aren't enough of them around him. Right. The problem is he has fast healing, Godzilla, so he heals every round. Okay. Fulton, you can't do enough damage with Fulton to actually kill him without him regenerating it. So you need, I think, you need 1,500 Fultons all standing on each other's shoulders, face to face with him. They all need to hit. So this is assuming Ross doesn't roll the dice for it. And they all need to do average damage, and that might be enough to kill it, unless it rolls higher than them on initiative, in which case he can one-shot the entire group of them with his fire breath. It was a really slow day at work, I'll be honest.
Right.
You know,
I was going to say, it sounds like a really awesome bit of fan art.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to, go into that and start drawing up 100,000 Battlestones, that would be
fighting
amazing
Godzilla.
To see. Fighting Godzilla.
I think that is one of the monsters in the new Godzilla movie. I think when he fights all the monsters, one of them is 1,500 Fulton Battlestones.
1,500 Fulton Battlestones coming out of the sea, like, hey! Going back to the Ossuary. So you said that we only did like 50% of it, right? Mm-hmm. So what else would we have found if we'd have gone? Oh no, actually, let me ask about the one thing that I think everyone's wanting to know about is what is the dark place and what's down there.
The still place.
Yeah, sorry, I've heard it's the dark
place. Well, the still place is one of my favourite things in Pathfinder, and I knew I had to put it in there. Most of what has happened in the last, like, sort of 20 episodes since we arrived in Caermarga, basically.
Yeah.
It's all from a book called City of Strangers, which is written by a brilliant writer called James L. Sutter, who writes a lot of Pathfinder content. Yeah. He's a freelance writer for him, used to be main Paizo. But he wrote this whole book, and all it is, it's got a few rules, but all it is just stuff about Caermarga. And it explains this whole thing called the Undercity. Caermarga is incredibly old. It is older than the sort of the Thalassian Empire, which was the old empire that ruled Varissia before humans.
Okay.
And what there is underneath it is this vast network of caverns, and some of them predate mankind. They all have weird things going on in them. The way the still place works is, a long time ago, when something called Earthfall happened, a great meteorite fell from the sky, and it was going to wipe out most life on the surface. There was a race called the Colborn who live in the underground. They're sort of psychic creatures, and they lived in the undertunnels. They decided they were going to retreat deep into the earth and hide away while this was happening. And they decided that they needed a barrier, something to stop people ever finding their realm where they were. So they went up to the surface. They made a deal with all the humans that lived up there, and said, "We've built a city for you in the Undercity. We've built this great city in a cavern, which is going to be safe from everything that's coming above. The only rule is that you need to seal up all of the access to the surface so that nothing can come along, and then you can live there in safety. We'll trade with each other, and we'll be mates down there." So they built this city underground. The humans all come in with their families. They seal off all access to the surface world.
Right.
And once they've done that, the Colburn kill all of them. They let these creatures called Morgs, which we may fight at some point, which are just awful undead creatures. They let them loose in the city, and then they close the doors and they go home, and they leave them there.
Yeah.
And these creatures that they release kill everyone in this underground city, turn them all into undead creatures. They all become zombies, and then the zombies then hunt down the other survivors. And eventually what happens is there is no one left alive. The zombies have no one left to chase. And so they all just stop. And they all just stop and stand exactly still where they were in the darkness. And they stay there for thousands of years.
Until someone else or something else comes along.
Until someone pokes their head in from above and drops a torch, which is the first external stimulus they've had in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And it's just a carpet of these. Yeah. So going down there would have been a real bad idea.
That would have been a stupid idea. I'm glad we turned around.
And that isn't even close to the scariest thing in the Undercity. Like, there's so much great stuff down there. That's just a tiny little. That's like.
And could you get down there if you really tried?
If you really tried, you could get down there. And then we would work out in reverse, like the Godzilla Fulton Battlestone question. We would find out how many zombies does it take to kill one Fulton Battlestone, and I don't think it would need 15,000.
It wouldn't need that many. Daniel Thompson, it's time for your first piece of music.
Oh yes,
and you have chosen from episode 36, La 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 La. So let's hear that.
Don't you worry about me. Don't you
worry about me. When you walk on by,
when you call my name,
Garrigo!
then I walk on by.
Garrigo?
I do not see you,
and I say la 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 la.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Danger Club.
So tell me, why did you choose that disc in particular?
Well, I'm really glad that we made it to what is it this week? Episode 50, episode 51. I'm glad we made it to episode 50 before we did a clips show. A lot of comedy shows, a lot of major shows, they cave and do the clip show much earlier in their history.
I feel like we're one of those shows though that's giving a bit more content as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they don't just like chuck in a bunch of clips.
I'm pretty sure we've had a bottle episode as well, but it's just that you were trapped in the bottle with a skeleton that wanted to murder you, so it was a bit more exciting. Are we really gonna? Have you got songs from every?
Mate, you don't even know. Right, we've got a question, right? From Musha Satori, what do you think sets you apart from other RPG podcasts, and what would be your elevator pitch?
Oh, Candice, one of our best buddies. That's a great question. It's something we talk about a lot because I spend a lot of my life talking about this podcast with people, like either on social media, or we're all active on social media talking about it, and
so should you be.
And please do. But I think there is some stuff that we do that is different. I like the amount of quality, the amount of time we put into the production, which is what the work that you do really with Colin, with the music and the SFX. The fact that we invested in decent recording equipment really early on, and that would be a big thing that I would say to anyone if you want to do one of these podcasts is take your time over it. Don't just, we started with just one microphone around a kitchen table. We did it for a few episodes, and almost going back, I wish we'd started with the mixer. And within a few episodes, we go up to a full setup, a full spread of mics, and you can hear the sound difference so quickly.
You're so much better and so much easier to control as well from a sound point of view.
Yeah. I think it's different because it is British, which does actually make a difference on this. It's Pathfinder, which is different to D&D. It has that extra sort of audio quality, which is good. And I just love the characters. And I know it's a weird thing to say about your own show, but I can because I'm the one sitting on the outside DMing, and I get to be in a room with these, with these 5 amazing characters. 6 amazing characters. Let's give Philippe his due. We all know I'm a Philippe guy. And just to see these relationships developing.
Jin hasn't come into his own yet. I'm sure that Jin's going to be a pretty integral character one day.
Jin gets the ability to talk at some point, or he gets the ability to talk to Velda. So I'm going to have to come up with a voice for Jin.
Which I'm looking forward to.
That'll be a fun day. I'm looking forward to that. And getting to work with... being able to do a creative project where we get to work with each other, and we get to work with really good guests. Like Rachel was fantastic, wasn't she?
Rachel Henley was just amazing. Big up Rachel.
And someone who had never played this game before to walk in and do that. And April, my goodness, you have some good stuff coming up.
You're in for such a treat.
She's fantastic. So that's only an elevator pitch if it's in an elevator in a very tall building.
Yeah, give me an elevator pitch. We're only going up 2 floors now.
Only going up 2 floors.
Yeah.
All right. The Danger Club podcast is 6 British actors sitting in a studio in London having stupid adventures, fighting everything from legions of undead to the postal service.
Ding! I'll take it.
Nice.
So, sugar! I just broke Dan's desk.
I like that we just pitched our show to people who are already subscribed to our show.
It's time for your second piece of music, Dan.
Yes.
You have chosen from episode 39 a little bit of Drow.
That's one of my favourites.
Shania, Shania, Shania. Shania,
Do it.
Do it.
Shania.
Shania, Druid. Shania, Shania, Shania. I can't do the Shania.
With a little bit of drought, we can make it through the night. With a little bit of drought, we can make it through the night.
That was a little bit of Drow.
I'm a big fan of that one because it really highlights how much better at singing Rachel is than the rest of it. Like how well vocally trained.
Right. Yeah, okay. So a quick question from Blinded Spinks.
Yes.
Right. Fulton's Wallet. How much money has he got?
How much money? I don't know, because I foolishly allow everyone to keep their own character sheets, so I don't have his exact wallet with me right now. It is not very much, and I believe we do an audit on it in a couple of episodes.
We spoke about it, didn't we?
I think it comes up in game where we discuss like how much money is actually in there, and it's not very much. And it's fine. He's a fighter. It's not like he's a completely gear dependent class. It's not like his effectiveness is totally based on buying new weapons and armor, and he really really needs to upgrade some of that. That's fine. He can just go away and give it away to cat ladies in the street.
I mean, what he does with his money in the next episode is really funny. So, I mean, I do wonder sometimes how much he has got and how much, where did he get that from or whatever. But maybe Em needs to have a chat with him in a bar or something.
It gets into a weird thing where, it doesn't help that you live in a world where you have to buy your supplies from people like Dark Michael. So there's no encouragement to really spend money because it means you have to go and visit people like that.
I mean, big up Dark Michael.
Big up Dark Michael.
What a great character.
Official sponsor of the show.
I'm waiting for that T-shirt to see someone wearing, I shop at Dark Michael's or something.
I need to do that.
Yeah, right.
I need to make one of those. T-shirts are coming, by the way, at some point. They're
definitely coming.
There is no plan in place of how we're going to do it, other than that we would like to do it. And actually, some people have sent us, Sai, our artist, someone who's done some really great art for us, he's sent me some links about how you do T-shirts. So it is something that is on the list among all of the other stuff that we're recording at the moment. When we get time, we're going to try and get that available for you.
Didn't I once send you I created a My Name is Keemuth mug?
Yes.
From way back when with the skulk called Keemuth. I sent him a little...
I really want that. I really want that.
A steaming hot mug of tea. My name is Keemuth.
I especially like ones that are based on really specific jokes that don't age well. Ones from episodes that were months and months ago, that most people won't have heard or will have forgotten about. That's the kind of merch that I want to have. But we have a few that we have a few T-shirts we do ourselves that we do wear. Yeah. So maybe we'll do a little limited run or something with that sometime.
Dan and I are both wearing our own T-shirts today, so maybe we'll flip up a little picture on the Instagram in a bit. It is time for your third disc from episode 40, Bad Dreams in the Ossuary.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's a good tune.
I don't even...
And as I go into the distance of the corridor, they just hear, "It's me, Asura, come home."
It's Rachel Henley again there, big up. Yeah, singing... Yeah,
she loved that one. When we planned her character for it, because it was a real last minute that you'll have noticed the way we find Zola in a sealed room in an ossuary that hasn't been opened in a long while, and she disappears very abruptly in the episode, and that was because it was the first time we'd done a guest, and we found out we had Rachel available in between tours, and so we were like, we need to do this. We've got to get her involved in this before she goes away again, because she's great and we want to have a chance to have her involved. And so I sat down with her and was trying to make her character, and we had dinner and just talked about Pathfinder and talked about what kind of person she wanted to be, and we ran around all this sort of stuff, and then she was like, can I basically just be Kate Bush? And from that point we were like, yep, that all clicks.
That's
and we completely, and Zola came from that, and we just kind of wrote her from there. And when Zola is running off into the dark, Rachel was literally was putting her coat on and running
into the dark,
running off out of the studio.
She had an appointment somewhere, didn't she?
Yeah, she had
a job.
to get to a booking, so we just kind of wrapped it up. But I'm really glad we did. It was worth it to get her in there. That's why we kind of, with April's stuff, we had time to plan it a bit more and had time to kind of get her in a bit more laced into the story. So I think you'll find it feels a bit more natural narratively.
And because she'd done it before as well, April knows kind of what she was doing, didn't she?
She knows.
I'm not saying that Rachel didn't. I'm just saying that April had played the game before. This was the first time that Rachel played. Yeah. She loved it as well. Like, we saw her the other day and she was just, oh my God, I want to come back. I love it. Yeah, it was great.
Hopefully. Well, we'll see. This is the nice thing about all these guests is that, they're... we're not Game of Thrones in with this. We're keeping all these options open.
Yeah. So with Zoe leaving in that episode, in episode 40, a question from a Dangerling, Tom Quinn: how does the creation of enemies differ when joined by a guest as opposed to the big party?
Ah, nice. Okay. This is a nice DM question because statting encounters is always tricky.
Right.
We use, I'm sure everyone knows, we play pre-made adventures for the sort of the basis of each series we do. So we played Murder's Mark, we played Godsmouth Heresy, now we're going to go on to Master of the Living God. And that is a pre-written adventure which will take you X amount of time to complete. And then I write a lot of stuff around it and expand it and change it and but that forms the bedrock of it. And a big part of that is it means that the encounters are statted correctly to be a good challenge for that kind of party. It's already thrown slightly out of whack by the fact that it's a 5-person party rather than a 4-person party, which is your normal. So there's always a little bit of that. And then you add a guest in as well, that takes it up a little bit higher. So there are different ways you can approach it. It was easy with Rachel because we were already... The other thing we had was that everyone was level 2 for Godsmouth Heresy, or started at level 2 to level 3 we did for that, which is a level higher than the recommended one for the dungeon. So the dungeon was already easier. So that's why we use the advanced template, which we talked about there, which means that the monsters have got more hit points, they do more damage, they're harder to hit. So it makes the monsters tougher, and it slightly gets around the fact that you have more people. It's not a perfect solution because it does mean that you get some fights, like if you get a fight like we have with Spears Morgan, where only one person can fight him at the time, then my goodness, he's suddenly really difficult because your numbers don't help you in that kind of situation. So it's not a perfect solution, but it does kind of get through that. I also amended little bits on the fly, so I changed hit points and things on the fly to get around.
What?
Yeah, you got to peek behind the curtain, change a few little bits here and there to kind of keep it as a decent challenge. But you've got to account for stuff like the fact that you've got an extra player in Rachel, but also Rachel's never ever played this game before.
Oh, so I see what you mean. So you have to adjust really to incorporate that.
So you're like, okay, I've written this encounter for 6 characters, but Rachel is not somebody who has been playing this game for 20 years and knows every trick and knows how to play this character the most effectively. She's going to try stuff and see. So you adjust a little bit on the fly based on how that is going. I'll be really clear, at no point did I downgrade any encounters to save the party.
Sure, yeah.
There might be some talk about near TPKs at some point, but everything stayed at the same difficulty it was, because I don't believe in making stuff easy just because it's getting hard for everyone. But there are little bits where after the first game with Rachel where you get an eye in for it and you're like, oh, okay, cool, I think I know how you're going to play on this now, so we'll kind of we'll sort of work it like that. But my poor demon that got built up so much with the boom boom, and then was just you minced her in I was so upset. Right, I'm going to talk about her because even though there's no question about her, right, I'm going to talk about this, right?
It's DMQs.
Because I was heartbroken at the time that we were talking about my favourite monsters. That is a monster I wanted to use against this party, and I didn't get a chance to. That creature had it was called a sin spawn, so it's everything, all the Thalassian stuff is all based on the 7 deadly sins, basically. So this was the lust spawn, so it was a creature of lust, like a lust demon. It had an attack called, I think it was called Lusty Bite or something. It's such a great RPG name, where basically if it bites someone, the person has to make a save, and if they fail the save, they're overcome with amorous lust. And
wow.
And mechanically, it all it does is it lowers your stat. It just tells you how it affects it. It's like, oh, you're sickened or something.
Okay.
The effect is quite straightforward. But I was so keen to try and land that on Fulton because I just thought that if they have to deal with a lusty Fulton for an hour after this, it's just going to be such great radio.
Yeah, man.
But no, she died. It didn't happen.
That's a shame.
One day I'll bring her back.
It's time for your fourth disc.
Yes.
Dan, this is you've chosen from episode 41, Kill the Skelly.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Do you remember that?
Yeah, classic.
Kill the skelly, Bobby Dick, we thought he was gonna kill us. But he didn't, Zola was there, and Caragor killed it with a cutlass. Fulton said, you will die.
Why did you choose that one, Dan?
That is a beautiful song. I like that song particularly because it is a really good example of the times when Scott will start singing a song and hope that someone will also join in on it. And sometimes we will, like when he threw out and Fulton said, and Ross just keeps saying do and leaves Scott to come up with the lyrics for what Fulton said.
He usually does quite well though, doesn't he? Yeah.
He's good for a.
I have to big up Scott there.
Scott is great at like coming up with because he's an improviser anyway. Like if you,
right.
You know, Scott does cabaret and improv and all this kind of stuff. So of all of us, he can come up with this stuff straight away, which I like to think makes us. If he starts it, sometimes we join.
Just let him go.
Sometimes we'll just lean back and. The worst one is when he kind of I realised he's thrown a look to me and he was expecting me to interrupt with like a hello everyone, and I've just let the song roll on.
Yeah.
Like,
it happens to all of us at some point though, doesn't it? Yeah. But Scott's great at doing that. Okay, so from Alakar, were you prepared for a TPK in the Ossuary or Tavern Fight Saga? So now we're moving on to the Tavern, so it's after Zola's left. So were you prepared for it? That's the first question.
Okay. I was aware that it was a possibility. Now, I really think about these kind of encounters, and I was not expecting it at all with the skeleton fight. That one took me by surprise. That was
with Spears.
With Spears Morgan, yeah. I had looked at other encounters. I was expecting the Alchemist fight to be really tough. That wasn't actually, you kind of dealt with that
easy.
Yeah, because you took out his mate first of all. You dealt with that really well. Spears, I wasn't really expecting you to find that to go that way because it's a really unintuitive way to go through the dungeon, but you sort of found it. And then I hadn't thought about the mechanics of having a character with a spear in a 5 foot wide corridor and how and a high AC and how incredibly dangerous that is. So I was suddenly very worried. I wasn't too worried because I knew you had two ways out. And I felt fairly confident that you wouldn't all just keep walking into the spear and die. Like, worst case, probably what might happen is one of you would die, and then you would all just go a different way. You would all just give up on going that way and find a different way through the Ossuary. And we'd have lost one character, but we can replace that. There was no way that James was going to stay and die for everyone. James would have run away.
Nah, he would have gone. He would have left us all. Being that set in mind, if say like 4 people that was an almost TPK. No, okay. Say if one character died, like you said just then, right? Would we be able to find down in the Ossuary another character, or would they have to wait until if we're in the dungeon scenario, would we have to wait until we get back out to sort of regen, if you like?
It would depend. It would depend on where you were, what was going on, and what was a good way narratively to get another story, get another character back in. I don't really want to have too many situations where people are sitting out episodes for a long time because that's that's not the show. We want to have a show with a full cast of characters, but I also don't want to throw a character in with no explanation at all. So,
it needs a little bit of backstory, doesn't it?
Yeah, but there are things we can do. We can remember we don't always have to. At the moment, we're telling one story because we're following this one group of characters all the time. But we're picking up other characters along the way, and we're meeting other characters who have their own stories. So there's nothing to say that at some point we might cut away to go and tell a story that's happening somewhere else in the world involving some people, and maybe some of those characters end up joining the main narrative. Maybe maybe they come in if they replace someone who dies. There are things you can do like that. I will be honest, I was really not sure what was going to happen if the tavern fight ended in TPK, because that was a real test. That was a
tavern fight was so good, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was kind of like, the only way we can make this as good as it should be is to make it as hard as it should be and just see how you go. And just let you guys give it your best shot, because you can work very well together, and it can be a very efficient party when everyone is thinking and everyone is working cleverly. you guys are very powerful. And so it was statted as something that was like, this is a very hard encounter, but it is not impossible. And I can't cheapen it at all. It has to be done like this. And the only way to play this is to attempt to kill some of these characters and just see how it goes out. And it's not how we play the show a lot. It's not like I'm constantly throwing creatures at me. Like, even though I say that, I'm not trying to kill everyone all the time. But in a thing like that, if you're playing somebody that horrible, and occasionally we've had really nasty villains have shown up in this show, and you have to play them accurately, and you have to play them how they would be, and they do not give any kind of quarter, and there's stuff coming up in the later episodes which is really hard, and I have to stay true to that and run it, and whatever happens is gonna happen.
No spoilers. Okay, yeah, and the second part of that question from Alakar, the first one was, were you prepared for a TPK? What's your backup plan if they all die? So if we all die, what do we do? Do we just stop the record, go regen, and then start a new story? Or
no, we're gonna go and play the Pokemon RPG, start a new show. It'll be we're gonna if
start Starfinder.
Yeah, just don't tell me. Don't tempt me, Frodo. I love Starfinder. No, if everyone were to die, so if we were to lose the entire Danger Club, I think there would be enough narrative in that to find a way to introduce a new party. It is a rare thing to have a TPK in an actual play. Very few shows have it because it's really, really hard to write your way out of. You don't see it in any TV show, really, where your entire cast die in one episode.
No, not at all.
And you have to start again with totally new people. Usually you can foresee it a little bit, and you can... Because to lose 5 characters in an hour is quite hard to do. It's not impossible. Yeah. We got close on the Talon fight.
Yeah.
But... usually if a fight is that dangerous, it's going to spread across multiple episodes, and so if you suddenly find you've lost maybe 1 or 2 characters during a fight and it's looking bad, that's where you can be like, okay, what can we do narratively with these other episodes we have coming up to start foreshadowing that there are other characters in the background who might get involved in this. Or I quite liked the idea of starting with a whole new party who are being sent on a rescue mission to find the Danger Club.
It's a good idea. Then take up the mantle sort of thing.
There's things you can do, and that's, it's like I've said a million times, it's one of the great things about this kind of game is you really don't know, and that is a possibility at any time that you could lose every single major character in a single episode, and then you just have to start again and and work out how you connect these stories. And most of the time when we come up to a new adventure, when we do our vote on what our next adventure is going to be, I have no idea how I'm going to connect these adventures. And you always find a way. So I feel like if that were to happen, we'd find a way.
Has it happened to everyone? Has everyone had a character die? Like everyone that you've been playing D&D with or Pathfinder with, have they all had a character die at some point when you've been playing with them?
They've lost... Yeah, James has lost a few characters.
Okay.
James has lost characters in a couple of campaigns where we played on, and so it's happened to... I don't know if Scott has ever lost a character, and I'm not sure Drummond ever has.
Okay.
He's come close. They both have, but I know Ross has died but come back, because that's the other thing in
you
some...
can come back, can't you?
Yeah, you at higher levels you can bring characters back, but it's really expensive. It's ruinously expensive. And it's we had a great time playing around with the reincarnate spell in other campaigns, which is a lower level version. It's a spell that lets you come back from the dead, but you come back as a different character. Like you come back in a new body, so you might come back as a gnome or something like that, and that's a lot of fun. So maybe, and Shania will get access to that at some point, so maybe it will come up. But yeah, it depends. Some people, when they die, they just want to roll a new character. But some people are heartbroken. Some people are, it's really tough. When Ross died in a long-running the campaign we played before we were on air, Ross's character died. And it came out of nowhere. Like, we thought we had a cliffhanger the previous game. We thought he was going to die. He got through that. He was all right. He was safe. And then we walked into the next room, and it was like, bang, headshot, done. He was...
Wow.
And it came out of nowhere. And he got up, and he just he thanked everyone, and he left the pub. Not in like
Yeah,
not in an
yeah.
upset way, but he was just kind of like, I am out of the game. I don't want to know anything that's going to happen while my character is not alive. And he got up and he left, and we were all just left. Like, we'd literally lost the character, and Ross had gone as well, and it's a really weird thing. So yeah, I joke about being eager for a character to die, but there's some good story in that if that happens.
If it does, yeah.
But M's been dead before. M's fine with it.
M has been dead before, so he is fine with it. Colin might be a bit sad. Yeah. It's time for your 5th piece of music.
All right.
And you've chosen Turn the Page of the Module from episode 42.
We could do a Streets parody sometime.
Yeah. I got my D20. I set my darts at treble 20. I'm throwing off my arrows. All the sparrows are flying away. It's a new day like SK. Yeah, I got the beat going, it's flowing. All my days. It's like Velda's frost rays. Pew, pew, pew.
Yes.
Yeah,
he did it.
So there we go. Yeah, turn the page.
I like that one because I say we could do a really good Streets parody, when in fact I mean Colin do a Streets parody.
It was kind of like monkey dance.
Yeah,
it?
It is that kind of. It's that saying we, but actually meaning you do that. It's good business strategy that's going on there.
Yeah,
that's so good. I love what you did with that one.
Was it hard to create the world around the ossuary, and how does it change from the outside world when having a dungeon to work with? You know what I mean? Being downstairs in a dungeon as opposed to, and I think this is a question from us as the Danger Club actually, because outside you've got NPCs you can deal with. Like, we can just grab someone on the street and talk to anyone, whereas down in the ossuary we haven't got many people to talk to. I know we met Zola, but it does change, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a very different kind of show. I felt like I'm glad we did a dungeon crawl because it's such a huge part of this kind of game. I feel like you've got to have one somewhere. You've got to do a dungeon crawl at some point. I prefer adventures when you are within civilization because I love that random element. I love when Ross says, I grab someone off the street and we just have to create a new character out of nowhere. And I like that from that we get stuff like Dark Michael, and we get stuff like the post office.
We had Martin as well. From back in the day.
Bobby Mack, and all these, and people like Ica and characters who become really beloved, and Travis, who's not so beloved. Thank you, Discord.
I don't know anymore.
No, like somebody literally. There was a lot of the Discord went mad during that episode, during that cliffhanger over it, and after it happened, the first post that came up on it was from someone saying, I mean, I was just really relieved when Travis jumped in the way, because honestly, Travis, I don't know. It's like, thanks.
I don't know. I love dipping into, at the in the second part of that episode, I loved dipping back into the carnival and using all those sound effects and stuff and bringing back. And I thought Travis, for me, just was stepped up, in my opinion, because he was like, he'd redeemed himself so much. There's something about these guys and all stuff like that. It was really nice.
It was nice to go back there. And Travis is one of my favourite types of character in an adventure story, which is the person who is completely unqualified to be there and is there anyway.
Yeah, he's great.
Like he's there to look after Rika, and he is completely in over his head, but he's going to stick it out for her. And I love that idea of this person who isn't on the level of everyone around him, but kind of stays anyway.
Yeah.
But talking about dungeons, I prefer being above ground. I like having all those extra NPCs, those little extra adventures we can have in there. But there is something quite nice about separating the heroes from that lifeline, from the outside world. Because
I know what you mean.
There were some really nice moments where things like, what do you mean we haven't got any more health potions? What do you mean? This thing of like, we can't just go. Every decision we make is really important. We can't just go home and rest and come back and deal with this. Left or right, how do we use these chimes? All of these things become quite important. And at times it grinds things down because you spend ages saying, do we walk through this door? Because that's a part of dungeon adventuring. But I really like that as a way of looking at characters, and it makes the characters relate to each other because you've got no one else to talk to, so it's just each other that you have to deal with. And I think we got some really nice, especially like the deep road stuff, not the deep roads, the Half-Light Path. There was some lovely stuff in there, and it was just you guys. And you guys really. You really sort of formed your own relationships during that time. So it's a nice way of exploring different people. But yeah, I'm glad we're back on the surface, and I'm glad we can explore the world a bit more.
I'm glad you brought up the door. Because I had that question written down. Okay, listen.
Yeah.
The riddle
Yeah.
on the wall.
Yeah.
We discussed it so much.
Yep.
The heart beats on the wrong side of my chest, or is it right? Is left right? Now, which way? Was that just the ramblings of a drunken madman? Or was there a riddle there?
Okay.
Because I want to clear this up.
Cover your ears if you do not want spoilers for the Godsmouth Heresy, or just skip forward 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That message there on the wall has nothing whatsoever to do with those doors. It is a bit of graffiti that relates to a thing somewhere else in the Ossuary that changes your body and moves your heart and your lungs and things around in your body. Like, we're going to publish a map of the Godsmouth Ossuary, of the areas that were explored on the map, and you will see in that about half the dungeon, which is greyed out, which was the unexplored section that we didn't get to. There is so much more to the Godsmouth Heresy.
We thought there was, yeah.
Well, because and things like the Wrath Rune, never found the Wrath Rune, and that's in a bit of the Ossuary you didn't find. And when you look at the map, I don't know if you've seen it yet, the map of the path you all took through the dungeon. You got through that door. You just went the long way around. And there's a part later on when you find the Wrath Rune, and some of you are like, "Oh no, it's another Wrath Rune. Oh, how are we going to get through this one?"
Oh no!
And that's the other side of that same door. Like, you got through it. You just gone all the way around. But that's a lovely thing about, like, honestly, even though you've heard this podcast, go and play Godsmouth Heresy, because there are so many different ways to complete it.
So much to explore.
There's so many different things you can do within it, and there are a few bits. You guys shortcutted some bits by some good disable device checks and spotting some secret doors and unlocking some doors and things like that.
Yeah.
That allowed you to kind of skip a load of it. But you can do it without doing any of that. If you haven't got a rogue in your party, you can go a long way around. You can find bits and maybe find the Wrath Rune and maybe find the thing that graffiti relates to. There's loads of stuff that you can do on that. It's a great dungeon.
But it had nothing to do with the doors.
It had nothing to do with the doors.
Whole episode. Thank you very much, Dangerlings, for sticking with us.
Working out on that one.
Okay.
You found the other side of all of those doors actually at different times. But
well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Idiots. Okay. Time for your 6th disc.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Penultimate disc.
From episode 43, Dry Your Drows, Mate.
Dry your eyes, mate. I know you wanted to roll a natural 20. There's plenty more rolls in the tray.
It's the uncertain way he says tray.
Yeah,
That's
right.
really makes that.
I love the fact that Drum's always in the background just giggling along, because he's like a hype man. Anytime you do something, he's the guy that's going, "Yeah, well done, Colin, well done." So thank you, big up Drum.
That's how I got through most of my stand-up career, was bringing Drum along to gigs as my hype man, just sitting him in the front row and be like, if everyone else here hates me, Drummond is digging this. That's how we get through this.
All right, so Blinded Sphinx again.
Yeah.
Big up to all the people that have asked us questions. Is Shania's accent the same for all Drow? Like, is that the done thing now? And did Drum give you any pointers when you played some Drow in the second part of the bar fight?
Did we do any voice coaching with
Drummond?
With Drummond for Drow? I mean, I'm sure Drummond won't mind saying that Shania's accent was not the same for Shania, let alone all Drow, for the first few episodes.
Yeah, right.
There was a bit of pan-European. Well, it was the same for all of us, because none of us knew what any of these characters sounded like when we started it, and we didn't know what any of the sort of accents were, and I don't know what I was doing with some of the early like Varisian accents and things like that. But you just kind of you play around and you find a way through it, and it was just the voice that Drummond had come up with for Shania that it developed into is just so good and so so characterful and so fitting of Drow in a weird way. Just the rage of it all kind of fits Drow really well, so that when other Drow came in, and it's just a really nice, because it's an audio show, it's a really nice way of saying straight away, this is a Drow. You know, they've all got a sort of Germanish kind of accent going on. So I think that is canon. I think Drow are sort of, I don't want to say German because I'm not sure that it's quite a German, like
I don't think it is.
General Northern/Eastern European, that kind of Germanic-ish sort of twinge. Vilkas de Veer is one of my favourite NPCs to do the voice for, because I love that. I love the voice for him, for the other sort of West Side Story Drow who keeps showing up.
Yeah.
Shania.
Where are you going, little sister?
Little sister. They're just great. So yes, I think that will have to carry on. There are other ones that aren't the same. Like we've established that not all gnomes talk like Chappie LaRue.
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
yeah.
Just him and Santine Roulade who are of those.
But there might be some other races that have accents.
Oh yeah,
that we've established kind of backstage. We'll let you in on that maybe a little bit later. But yeah,
dwarves have sort of Scottish accents.
Yeah.
Fulton certainly does, and all of the other ones you meet have, vaguely, because I am not as confident with a Scottish accent, and I know Scottish people who will pull me up on it. So I'm more tentative about those ones. Yeah. Maybe if I had German friends, I'd be more tentative about those. About the Drow, but for the moment, I think it's just the Drow.
Big up Germany.
Big up Germany.
So, listen,
yes.
We're about to cast you to the Ossuary soon. I know we're going to do your 7th disc in a minute, but
all right.
How do you think you'll do in the Ossuary?
How do I think I'll do in the Ossuary?
You're cast by yourself in the Ossuary. How are you going to do?
I think I will, having read the map and having known my way around, know where everything is within the Ossuary, and having seen you attempt it first, I think I will be dead in about 5 minutes. I don't think
Okay.
I'm fairly confident that I, as me, don't even get past the Dark Mantle.
You think the thing on the stairs?
The thing on the stairs.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think I'm Dark Mantle food. If I do, I'm going straight past Zola's room and through the way she came in, and I'm climbing back up the side of the cliff and get back into Kaer Marga, which is only slightly less dangerous. But yeah, I don't think I do very. I like to think I would remember the name of Valanthe Noricia, but beyond that, I don't think
you're the only one that does, mate.
Yeah, I know. Memorable NPC
and a bunch of dangerlings just going, "Oh my god!"
I love that bit.
I know, amazing.
So much anger.
So. This is your 7th and final disc from episode 50. It's 500 ones.
2, 3, and I would roll 500 ones, and I would roll 500 more, just to be the dwarf who rolled 1,000 ones to Fulton at your door. Natural one, natural one, natural one, natural one, natural one. Nailed it!
Enough of that. So there we go. Yeah.
So anyone who is like listening as these episodes come out, that is now, I think, like the 7th time you've heard that song this week, like including the outtakes from this week's episode.
Which was a beautiful outtake, actually. It's one of the best ones
so
I've had.
Much rage.
I know. It was so much fun to make. It was so much fun. That rage was a lot of fun. Rage. It wasn't like actual rage. It was real nice.
It was beautiful. If you listen on any of these intros, you will notice that I always come in about halfway through and don't really know the words.
Yeah,
I'm a bit confused. That's because when we're doing stuff like that, it's usually right before we record an episode or in between takes and things like that. And that means I'm sitting there with all my books out and my tablet, and I'm planning the episode, and I'm rolling initiatives and trying to work everything out. And then I just look up and there's a song happening and people are sort of nodding at me to join in, and I kind of just fumble through it, which takes me back to kind of every group singing exercise I've ever done, where I've been like, what, and just making up the words and trying to keep up with everyone.
Yeah,
it's like being at school.
Right. Just on that note, when you're creating episodes and things, like, are you doing it right up until we start speaking and up until you say hello? Like, what's it like in the morning of the record? And because there's a lot of prep for you as a DM, isn't there?
Oh yeah, I love doing DMQs because it's the only episodes that we record that I am not terribly anxious right before recording it. I get so nervous before we do an episode record. I will spend a good couple of days writing right before we do it, and just trying to get as many plot points as we can, and as many nice little moments as we can. Practicing character voices for characters that I know are coming up. Practicing descriptions for things that I know we're going to see. So sometimes I'll write them out and I'll learn them almost like a bit of script. So I know that, like the reveal of the bounty hunter and things like that, where I know how it's going to play. I know how it's going to look in my head. So I think of the description, so I'm not erming and stumbling over my words when I'm saying this stuff. Then I'll do things like I'll pre-roll initiatives. I've got an initiative tracker app, so I'll plan out all the encounters that I know are going to happen, and I'll roll the initiatives for all the monsters, so that when we come to do your initiatives, I've just got to put the numbers in for all of you, hit a button, and then it gives me the list of everything. I'm not having to roll anything for my guys on it. It just keeps things moving. And I've grabbed stat blocks for everything I know you're going to fight. But I'm also doing things like, because in the last day or so before we record, you guys will be talking a lot more on our Slack about what's going to happen in the episode, and you'll be talking about stuff that you might want to do or what you think is going to happen. And so I'm reading that and I'm reacting to stuff like that. If I hear people saying that they think you're going to go shopping, or they think we should buy, we think we should buy particular things, I'm like, okay, right, I'm going to look up rules for how that works.
I need to sort that out as well, yeah.
So that's going in the folder and that's going in there. And then I've got kind of an idea of like, right, what do I want to get done in this episode? Where do I think we will get to? And we will get about half of that done usually, but just an idea of where the structure is going, so I know if I need to hurry you guys along, or so. And then you sometimes have a guest as well, so I turn, like last episode, turn up, the first thing we do is sit down with April and we do a full briefing with her, and we go, we've already done it off air, we've done her backstory, we've done a lot of stuff with her, but I will go through her character. That was the first time she'd seen a character sheet, so we go through her character sheet, tell her where all her key things are, what she needs to roll to do different stuff like that, how we're gonna involve getting her into it. We're all up, we're sound checked, and I'm sitting just trying to work everything out. Like on the bus over to the studio, I want to get off the bus about 6 times on the way over there and just go home, because I'm just so nervous by that point about how it's going to go. But if you're not nervous, then you're not going to do a good episode. I think you need that energy, you need that feeling that you're going to do something good. And then as soon as
it means you're really invested in something, doesn't it?
And as soon as we're up and running, first few moments, first joke, everyone laughs, and then you're off, and then you're good for the day until that's where we leave it for tonight. We stop the record, and then I start worrying again, and start working on the next one.
It is really good when we all sit down. It does feel really good, doesn't it? When we start working on it. Right, we've got a couple of quick fire questions, because
Let's do it.
we're right at the end now. So, Hairs Will Roll asked, was April sitting there all the last episode?
Yes, she was. She did great. I was like, I know where you're coming in. I'm going to point to you when you walk in the room, and you just go. I don't know how long it'll take, but my God, Ross took us on a tangent. So
he did. Like
it all pays off.
It was great. It was so funny though. Such a nice episode.
Oh my God, there's so much good stuff.
But I think all of us at some point, like even Ross, was trying to hurry us along, and then we just kept forgetting and getting involved in other things. But it was really fun. All right, Boblin Hot says, what are you doing to celebrate a year of the DCP?
A year of the DCP. I cannot believe we're coming up on episode 52, man.
Big up, Boblin.
Good stuff. It's really great that we're coming out. We are going to do some fun stuff for it. Obviously, we've got this coming out, which is around the 1 year mark.
Yep.
But we have what I think is our silliest ever episode. It's episode 52. It's
amazing.
This is the thing of our show, is that like real landmark episodes end up becoming really, really silly. And we have our big dramatic episodes, like the stuff we've just been through, and like really great ones that happen. But we also have like iTunes, as its automatic thing, shows the last episode of, it's like either the first episode of season 2 or something. It's just one of the ones that gets highlighted because it's maybe a jumping on point, and that's the one where you guys hunt river sharks. It's stupid as ever. And so our 50-second episode is bonkers, and you're going to love it. I laughed all the way through it, and it's terrible to laugh at your own show, but it's you guys are so funny in it. So we're going to do that. I think we're going to do a prize giveaway as well. So keep an eye on that. We've got some stuff that is clogging up our lives, and we want to give it away to Dangerlings. So So that'll be run through social media. So keep an eye on the Twitter and the Discord and the Facebook and everything like that around episode 52. And that will be coming out as well. We also realised that episode 52 comes out the same weekend as PaizoCon. Which is over in the US, which we're not at, sadly. It's a bit of a long way to go.
Such a shame.
We are going to do some cons over here, but yeah, 1 year we're going to get to PaizoCon. But that is going to come out. But really weird that our birthday coincides with Paizo's big celebration thing, where there's going to be loads of stuff happening over there. So I'm looking forward to finding out about that.
And is there any fan art of any other NPCs like Ica or Dark Michael?
Simon, would you
get drawing, mate?
Yeah. There's fan art of me,
which is amazing.
I'm really excited about. It's on my Twitter now. Simon Monstrous Art has done some amazing.
Thank you so much.
He's done some amazing bits of art for us, which is so good. And other people. Fran has done some amazing work.
Fran's done some great
There's been
stuff.
some other. I can't remember.
Thank you so much for my picture of M. It was amazing.
It's so good, and it's great to have a clear look of sort of what M looks like. And there's a really strong visual for that now. So there's if people want to do art of NPCs, I will go nuts for it, because I love these characters, and they're as close as I get to having a character in the show. So I am very close. There is art of Ica in the book, actually.
There is, isn't there? Yeah.
We've used it on social media a couple of times, but there is a picture of Ica in the Murder's Mark guide. But she has evolved so much from the version of her in that book. She's a completely different character.
And also there's 2 other members of the Danger Club at the moment that haven't got any fan art. I mean, obviously we haven't heard much from Big Mike yet.
Yep.
Few days you'll hear a bit more. But there's Big Mike and what a character explanation from April. Better than all of ours. We were just like, I stand about this bit at all. She was like amazing at describing what her character was like. And then obviously we've got Zola as well, which and we've had so much amazing feedback about Zola. They're just like, Zola's great. So we'd love to see some pictures of them if we can. That'd be great.
Be beautiful. We love if you ever feel like doing some art, we will. We cannot thank you enough for that. We will make sure we circulate it as much as we can, because it's just great.
Now, we did have some other questions, but they're more for characters. So I think we're going to do those when we record an episode. So you might have to wait a while for those, ladies and gentlemen, but keep them coming in. So Dan Thompson, as you know, when you get cast into the Ossuary, you get 2 books. Okay. Those are the Pathfinder rulebook.
Okay.
And the complete works of Velda. So
oh my god. It's going to be a long book.
Just hating on people.
It's a complete list of his letters to the Daily Telegraph.
Right. And you also get a book of your choice. So what would you like to take?
It's going to have to be the Pathfinder 2nd edition rule book, because that is the only thing I'm reading at the moment. Trying to learn all of that, or the Starfinder rule book. No. Starfinder.
One day there's going to be an offshot podcast. We're going to have 2 going on. MZ in space. You also get a luxury.
I get a luxury.
You get a luxury. So what would you like to take as the Dungeon Master?
What would I like to take? I would like to take the fan art of the Danger Club.
That's nice.
And some and a really nice D20, so I can just sit and pretend I'm playing Pathfinder with all it. I'll just prop up your bits of art in the paper, and I'll be like, and I'll
teaching us the rules of number 2.
Yep, we'll just play 2nd edition. And we're like, Fulton, roll a save. Okay, I'll roll a save. Oh no, it's the 1. Oh, and you die.
What a great image of you sitting in the Ossuary by yourself, rolling as us.
Which is a lot of what preparing these games feels like sometimes.
Okay, and if a horde of alchemical zombies were coming towards you and you could only save 1 of your discs, which one is it going to be?
It's gonna be I would roll 500 ones, because my god, that took a lot of work to produce. So we're gonna preserve that one.
Would you like the outtakes as well, leading up to the...
I want the full...
Sure.
I want the outtakes, and I want the outtakes we didn't air. I want the full 12-hour epic of I would roll 500 ones.
We can do that for you. Dan Thompson, thank you so much for being on Ossuary Dungeon Discs.
Colin, it's an honour. Thank you, everyone. Have a good time.